Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Wrestling Exchange hosted by Ted and Papo. I am your host, Ted, and I'm joined with, as always, my co-host.
Papo in the house. Welcome back, everybody.
Papo, we got a lot of shit to talk about, so I'd like to take a moment and just get the quick plugs out of the way so we can get this bad mamma jamma started. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you for joining. I'd like to call this the most insightful podcast on all of YouTube where we talk about pro wrestling. And what this is, it's a passionate conversation between wrestling fans. We talk about storylines, angles, specifically WWE, and maybe down the road we'll get into other stuff. Just a quick reminder, please do us a huge solid. It means a lot to me. I'll name my firstborn after you. Go ahead and click that like button. See that thumbs up, dude? Click that doohickey. Really means a lot. While you're at it, go over there, see that little button that says subscribe, click that too. So that way, hey, guess what? Anytime we put up a new video, you'll get an email telling you that we put up a new video. Like comments. Oh, yes, comment. At any point during the discussion, if you want to chime in, please feel free to put it in the comments. And you can also send us your questions to TedandPapo@gmail.com. That's TedandPapo@gmail.com. You can find the email in the description box below. Send us your emails, and it'll be topical. We'll talk about things you want to talk about. We'll bring it up on the air, give you a shout-out, all that good stuff. Now, one last thing. As I mentioned, this is a passionate discussion between two wrestling fans. Now, it's a no-holds-barred conversation, which means four-letter words, bad language, that kind of stuff flies around here. And I got news for you. If you're not down with the bad language, this man right here, he's got 2 words for you. Papo? The 2 words. Papo.
Dude, you lagged out on me, and your 2 words are puta bitch.
Oh, shit. Well, aren't they the same word?
Technically, yeah.
We're not going to argue semantics. So, that being said, Papo, before we get into the actual this week's Raw, which is a thing we do here, by the way, if you're new, we got a couple of things to talk about. First, I want to kind of touch on this Seth Rollins dick pic scandal. Did you hear anything about this?
Only that what you have told me so far about the nude pics.
So, for those of you who aren't familiar, I'm just going to take a moment and explain what happened. Apparently, Seth Rollins had some sort of involvement with a new NXT developmental star, Zahara Schreiber. And basically, naked pictures of her popped up on his Twitter and Instagram. Afterwards, during the live edition of Monday Night Raw, a whole bunch of pictures of Seth Rollins being naked got posted all over his Twitter and Instagram. Turns out that this was actually the doing of his fiancée, one Layla Schultz. She's admitted that she has done this. They've issued a public apology. And this is actually in recent light of the new WWE policy as far as to prevent staff from being romantically involved with other staff. That being said, I also want to mention the Diamond Dallas Page health scare. Now, Papo, you and I discussed on our Royal Rumble not pre-show, but preview. We discussed the curse of the number 14 in the Royal Rumble. Do you remember that discussion?
You lagged on me.
Damn it. Do you remember our discussion about the unlucky number 14?
Yes, any wrestler that picks number 14 in the Royal Rumble ends up going into like a downward spiral or a mishap that happens to them. Go ahead, please continue with that.
Well, what happened is that this past year, the 2015 Royal Rumble, Diamond Dallas Page drew number 14. Recently, Diamond Dallas Page was actually released from the hospital this past Sunday morning after spending a weekend in there because of something called subglottal stenosis. And long and the short of it is basically Page says that this was a combination of his participation in the Rumble and, of course, doing DDP yoga seminars all weekend, radio interviews, really stressing his vocal cords. Ultimately, what happened is when you're talking about subglottal stenosis, basically your subglottal airway gets narrowed. And this is more common amongst children, very rare in people in their 50s. But basically, his vocal cords were trapped in this kind of weird mucus stuff, and they had to go in there and break it up. But he's doing okay. Thank you, Jeebus. Now, that being said, I don't want to spend any more time talking about that, Pablo. I want to get to the good shit. You ready to talk about Monday Night Raw live from Ohio State
Let's
University?
go ahead and get balls deep in this Monday's Raw.
Oh man, we're gonna bust all kinds of nuts. So Monday Night Raw starts with a Roman Reigns in-ring promo. Roman Reigns is still apparently getting some boos. He basically says that because he won the Royal Rumble, he's got the main event spot at WrestleMania, and he promises that he's gonna win, beat Brock Lesnar, become champion. But now he has to defend that spot at Fastlane against Daniel Bryan. Papo, am I lagging out at all? Or you still got me?
I still got you. Just keep going.
All right. So he says that he wants to prove himself. He wants to be the guy to beat Daniel Bryan. Of course, the minute he says he wants to beat Daniel Bryan, the crowd starts to boo him. He says, "quote From this point, I don't care who gets in my way. You get in my way, I got a spear with your name on it, and you can bet your ass that you can believe that." Roman Reigns still can't do the words very well.
Yeah.
He can't do words good. He should keep his promos short, simple, and to the point. Not a whole lot of talking. But that being said, his promo is interrupted by Daniel Bryan. Daniel
Don't get
basically
hooked on phonics.
not with Common Core. Oh shit, shots fired. We're not going to get into that. That's a whole nother discussion. Daniel Bryan tells Roman Reigns that he didn't come out to fight him, but to thank him. Because he tells him that his spear to Big Show in last week's Raw was amazing, and that he really helped him out by punching Seth Rollins in the face. And he says, "You and me, and the winner faces Brock. I get it. You're bigger than me. You're stronger than me. And when it comes to looks, I'd say we're about even." We get a nice pop from the crowd on that. But the reality is everyone knows I am a better wrestler than you. Question, who's better looking? Daniel Bryan or Roman Reigns? No homo.
This Roman Reigns, no homo.
I'm going to have to disagree with you, man. I got beard loyalty. So then, of course, we can't have a Raw promo start without Triple H and Stephanie. So they come out, they plug the network. Triple H mentions that he hasn't heard from Sting as far as his ultimatum to his challenge at Fastlane. So he says, "Sting, if you're listening, I want an answer by the end of tonight." Call Sting a coward. You breaking out those Tic Tacs.
The orange Tic Tacs are addicting, man.
Dude, tell me about it. So basically, Steph says the tensions have been high, and last week Roman speared an innocent Big Show who was doing nothing wrong, and technically Big Show really wasn't doing nothing wrong. He was about to do something. And he says that Reigns was jealous that Show beat him earlier in the night and that he acted out of spite. Roman Reigns, the consummate good guy, says, "No, I didn't do it out of spite. I did it because I could." Papo, is that the kind of reaction you'd expect from a good guy? Like, shouldn't the good guy say, "Hey, that guy was trying to screw me over," instead of, "Yeah, I did it. Believe that." So what's even worse?
That.
Believe that. Stephanie then says Daniel Bryan stuffed Kane into a casket. And she said that's where deceased bodies go to decompose. How sick and twisted are you? And Daniel Bryan says, "Well, in all fairness, you guys did put me in that match. And considering that what your husband has done in caskets, I thought you guys would appreciate that." Papa, I'm assuming that's a throwback to the Katie Vick incident. Is that fair?
It's extremely fair.
So for those of you who aren't familiar or weren't watching at the particular time or haven't seen it mentioned on the network, the Katie Vick incident, if I remember correctly, and Papo, jump in on me if I got this wrong. I believe it was Triple H retelling a story about Kane, and he dresses up as Kane in the retelling and humps a body in a casket.
Necrophiliac.
Boom. Hey man, necrophilia goes both ways. Anyway,
Yeah.
Steph says that as management, we take accountability very seriously. The two of you have caused emotional distress, physical pain, public humiliation, and therefore we're going to take action at a holla 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 playa tag team match. Big Show and Kane versus Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns, and this is actually the first match of the night. So before we get into the actual match, I have to ask quickly one question. Papo, did they not specifically tell us like a week or 2 weeks ago a casket match between Daniel Bryan and Kane would be the end of their feud?
Yes, they did.
Bunch of fucking
I mean,
liars,
it was
huh?
an awesome match. I watched the match. It was awesome. But again, this was going to be the end all of this Daniel Bryan Kane feud. So for them to keep it rolling like that, I'm like, come on, let it just go. But then we get the tag team match, Big Show and Kane versus Reigns and Bryan.
So let's talk
So
about that. Let's talk about that match. We had Triple H and Stephanie watching from ringside, and of course Roman Reigns gets tagged in. The people boo. At one point, Daniel gets the hot tag. Kane punches Roman off the apron, which takes him out of the match for a good portion of it. Uh, there's basically a couple of spots, but basically Bryan finally gets, I believe it's Kane in the yes lock, which is an omoplata, and then Big Show pulls Bryan out of the ring and throws him over the barrier into the timekeeper, and the ref immediately disqualifies Kane and Big Show because Show was not the legal man when he interfered. After the match, Roman fights Big Show and Kane until Big Show takes him out with a chair. Show rolls Roman into the ring. Roman hits him with a Superman punch, and then I believe he hits Big Show 7 times with the chair. I didn't count, but I'm a liar. I did count. A lot of chair shots, yeah?
a lot of chair shots.
So at one point, Kane goes to chokeslam Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns kind of slips out, and then Bryan, and then, so Kane goes to goes to chokeslam Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns kind of jumps out of it and falls into the corner. Daniel Bryan starts running towards Kane to hit him with a dropkick. Kane moves out of the way, and wouldn't you know it, Daniel Bryan actually hits his tag team partner in the face with his feet. Then basically afterwards, Roman gets pissed, and Daniel tries to explain that he didn't mean it. That's just what happens. And he starts to shove Daniel Bryan. Triple H says, "You two seem to get along great. We're going to give you another opportunity tonight, and we'll see how well we'll get along tonight when you face Kane, Big Show, Jamie Noble, Joey Mercury, and Seth Rollins." So that's the main event. Now we're going to transition into the next match on the show, match number 2. Seth Rollins, accompanied, of course, by J&J Security versus Ryback. Now, before we get into that, on the whole, because I forgot to ask, I know you and I are really tired of seeing Big Show and Kane in the same spots over and over again. The Bryan and Reigns versus Kane and Big Show match, was that enjoyable, or was it strictly? And this is not me being a dick riding Daniel Bryan, but is it me, or is it that match was only enjoyable because of Daniel Bryan?
Man, you lagged out real.
Oh man, issues. Can you hear me now? Oh no, he is gone. Papo. Oh. Ladies and gentlemen, I do apologize. We are experiencing technical difficulties. You have no idea how hard it was to get this thing started in the first place. We may be looking at another venue, possibly Skype or some other program. Papo, you're coming in. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you now.
Okay, boom. A question about the opening match. And I'm not trying to dick ride Daniel Bryan here, but is it just me, or was it only enjoyable because of the presence of Daniel Bryan?
It was only what?
Was it only enjoyable because of Daniel Bryan's presence?
I'm gonna go ahead and say yeah, because I mean, it was a mediocre match with all these big stars. But again, I mean, it only popped because of Daniel Bryan.
So then that match, then pass or fail?
Did you say you agree?
No, I'm asking you if that match was a pass or fail.
I'm just the match by itself was a fail, but it was a pass because it led into the main event that we will get to shortly.
So, is it safe to say that maybe it's not an F, but like a D minus?
Yes,
All right.
on the nose.
Speaking of noses, we got Seth Rollins' Big Schnoz versus Ryback. I don't really want to get into the match because there's not a whole lot to talk about. Not saying it wasn't good, but it was rather short. Basically, Seth Rollins continues to effectively use J&J security as good heels, distracting the refs, getting in cheap shots. At the end of the match, Ryback gets Rollins in the shell shock, doesn't actually hit it because J&J actually attack him. Ryback wins by DQ, and after the match, Rollins hits Ryback with the curb stop. What did you think of this match, and should they have been given more time?
If they were given more time, they'd probably put on even a better show. But again, it was too short, interruptions, and then right now, due to the time and the interruption, I'm gonna give it a fail. These two could have tore the house down.
They definitely could. So let's talk. Speaking about tearing the house down, we got to talk about someone who we expected to be there at the Rumble, Sheamus. We've got a video package referencing Sheamus's return soon to the main roster. How excited are you to see Sheamus again? Because I don't know about you, but we need him back on TV desperately because shit's getting stale.
Sheamus, the great white brawler. Let me tell you, he can definitely go. Strength, skills, and he's got decent mic skills. So you got to listen to the Irishman. So
Oh shit.
let's go ahead and let's get him going.
So, quick question then, because you and I expected Sheamus to return or make his return as an entrant in the Rumble. I know that I desire a heel Sheamus. I think heel Sheamus is the best Sheamus. Do you think maybe we're going to get a heel Sheamus? Maybe Sheamus joins the Authority?
I don't see a heel Sheamus in the future. I think the crowd actually likes him, so they're going to cheer for him. Especially with his moveset, it will plays to the crowd. Like the overarm swing when they're tied up in the ropes. I mean, that's awesome. The bro kick. And then him incorporating the Texas Cloverleaf. Come on, man. I mean, his movesets play to the crowd, so they have to push him as a face.
Hey, man,
they have to.
You'll get no argument out of me. Sheamus is dope, and that motherfucking four-leaf Texas Cloverleaf a la Dean Malenko, one of my all-time favorite submissions. But I gotta say, maybe a heel Sheamus would freshen things up, and who knows? Maybe it adds an extra dynamic. Maybe instead of constantly using Big Show and Kane, you put Sheamus in there for the Authority. I don't know. I'm just spitballing. But speaking of things that are not so great, let's talk about this Divas match. And we're gonna spend about as much time talking about the match as the match was itself, about 3 minutes and 15 seconds. Paige versus Brie Bella with her sister Nikki. Paige wins with a cradle DDT in 3 minutes and 15 seconds. Papo, I want to hear you. Just give me your thoughts on that. Oh, and I think we lost Papo again. Ladies and gentlemen, I do apologize for the technical difficulties. Oh! Papo, are you back? I see your picture.
I'm here.
Oh, okay. We're having major technical difficulties. Damn you, Google. Did you find anything interesting to mention about that Divas match, or do you care, or can we keep this ball rolling?
The only thing that I liked about the Divas match is that Paige just yelled at one of the Bellas. I don't even remember which Bella it was. Guess how disengaged I was. But she turned around and yelled at her. That should have me laughing. I'm loving when she yells now. So that was the highlight of the match. Cradle DDT, done, there.
All right. So in the interest of keeping this ball rolling, because I don't have anything to add, because that's exactly how I felt, we got a series of promos. Lana and Rusev. So I'm basically just going to distill the main points here as to what they said. So basically, Lana says that John Cena should be honored to face Rusev. He's the super athlete. And she mentions that Cena has accomplished great things in his career, and his never give up attitude has led him to become one of the finest fighting champions in WWE history. She says that she wants to recognize Cena's career tonight, and they show a John Cena video package. So apparently this is the second John Cena appreciation night. The video package ends, and she says 13 years is a long time, and we wonder how a mortal man like John Cena can keep going. John, you're just a man at his limits, waiting for annihilation. Quickly, Papo, how awesome is Lana at cutting heel promos?
That's a bad bitch.
So, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
She knows how to play the heel role and wear those heels too, so that's 2 for 2. That's a bad bitch.
Double entendre, motherfuckers. So, Rusev, who in my opinion is one of the most underrated guys on the roster right now. He is so fucking good. I love it anytime Rusev opens his mouth. This was amazing. So I'm just going to, again, distill the basic promo, give you what you need to know in case you didn't watch and you just want to know what's going on so you can talk with your friends at the water cooler, at work, and or school. That being said, Rusev says, John Cena, you are no longer what you used to be, and then he starts to, yell in Bulgarian gibberish, and then the crowd starts to what him. And Rusev is so goddamn amazing. He tells the crowd, don't you what me? I'm a hero. John Cena, you're no longer the young man full of ruthless aggression. Your fighting spirit has left you, and you're just weak. At Fastlane, I will break your body, and I will crush your spirit. Rusev promos. How underrated are his promos? Because I think they're incredible.
He's definitely got the heel down pat. Good to go. I mean, he's going to play to his nationality, and he's definitely the anti-USA dude, so he's going to get the pop from the crowd each time he opens his mouth.
Dude, I am this close to buying a Rusev t-shirt. Like this close. And I would wear it with pride. But of course, nobody can talk about John Cena without the man himself showing up. Apple dough. John Cena shows up, and he responds. He says, I may be... Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, give us those likes, subscribe, and maybe, who knows, we'll have better sound effects in the future. Bring up this production value. So Cena says he may be half blind, but he ain't deaf. And it looks like the motherfucker's got pink eye. And he goes on and he says, standard John Cena stuff, I get knocked down, but I get back up. Tub Thumper, Chuppawamba, 90s wants their music back. Now, he says, this is why we're having a match at Fastlane. You want to fight, but you need a lesson in respect. I'm going to hit you in the mouth so hard your eyes water. You are everything you say you are, a super athlete, and at Fastlane, we find out if you're tough. You picked the fight with the wrong man, wrong old man, son. And at Fastlane, this old man is going to whip your ass. So we know John Cena is good at cutting promos. Papo, question, what the hell is going on with the pink eye on John Cena?
He got beat by one of the Belugas. By, what, Nikki? Nikki punched him in the eye? Oh.
I believe it. She's dangerous, man. So the promos continue, and this is the best part, right? Cena comes out, he says his thing, and then Rusev just smiles, right? Just gives that big Bulgarian motherfucker smile, and he says, "You're going to kick my ass, John Cena? You talk a lot standing over there. You can't even see me," and he does the John Cena bit. I love it. And at Fastlane, I'm going to crush you, John Cena. Jokes, blah, blah, blah. He says it's a shame Lana has the balls. You feeling froggy? Jump, homeboy. And then, of course, Rusev runs up and just beats the dog shit out of John Cena, pokes him in the eye, and leaves him laying. So, quick question. Did Rusev poke Cena in the bad eye or the good eye?
I don't remember.
Let's just assume he poked him.
But it was funny.
It was hilarious. And he even threw him into the LED setup. So let's say he... In my opinion, I think he poked him in the bad eye, which is cool, but I would have much rather have seen him poke him in the good eye. So that way he's got his bad eye that's messed up, and now he's been poked in the good eye. John Cena lays helpless, and we get the transition into the next match on the show. Papo, we have a rematch of sorts from last week, Dolph Ziggler versus Bray Wyatt. Now, before getting into the ins and outs, I got to know, what did you think about this match between these two, and was it better than their last match?
This match was better than the last one. Everybody, both Ziggler and Bray, they knew what to expect, and it was awesome. So they were ready for each other this time. So it made the anticipation just awesome. So comparing to last week, this one was definitely a step up.
I think I might disagree with you on here. Just because a lot of this. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
We were talking before the show, and we were discussing that these two don't even have a feud. They don't even have a grudge. They put them in the ring, and they tore the house up. This match here, before you even say anything, I'm giving it a thumbs up. This match was my favorite of the night.
Dude, I can't argue with that. And you mentioned that's right, that we were talking about this before the show, but that's kind of proof that not everybody has to have a story. Not everybody has to feud. Sometimes you can just have two dudes that just go at it, and you can still get the crowd involved. Now, one of the things that I noticed is that as the match was starting, Michael Cole made mention that Bray Wyatt recently in his promos has been speaking to someone, telling that person to find me, Cole says. And he's like, who's Bray Wyatt talking about? I can't fucking figure it out. I'm only a National War correspondent. Michael, you dumb fuck. I know what's up. Clearly, Bray Wyatt's talking about The Undertaker. Every week he talks about you're not living, you're not dead. You're not living, you're not dead. I don't fear you, dead man. It's clear that he's talking about The Undertaker. But, of course, Michael Cole ain't that smart. So it's kind of insulting the intelligence of the audience, right? We all know that he's clearly talking about The Undertaker, but I don't know why Michael Cole, the journalist that he is, can't bother to put two and two together. Maybe he learned Common Core. I don't know. That being said, though, God, I got to stop doing that. I think, and we've said this before, Papo, I'm pretty sure someone, and I'm sure it's not someone important, I'm sure it's like a paid intern, somebody is watching our show. Because last week, I had complained about the fact that they're constantly mentioning that Dolph Ziggler was a record-setting amateur wrestler at Kent State in Ohio. But we never actually really get to see those amateur moves. And holy shit, the match opens up with some amateur wrestling. Now, real talk, Bray Wyatt is also an amateur wrestler. He wrestled heavyweight. I believe Dolph wrestled at like 160 or something. But that being said, it was nice to see some mat wrestling. And it looked like, at one point, that Bray got like was it a bloody lip or a bloody nose? A lot of it was like in his mustache. I couldn't really tell.
Bloody nose.
Oh, that cocaine. So they did a spot where Wyatt dodges the Famouser, and he goes for Sister Abigail. And at this point, I'm watching at home, and I'm like, well, this match is over. But then Dolph slips out of it and hits him with a schoolboy roll-up for a 2 count. Then Dolph actually is able to hit him with the Famouser, then a super kick, and another big 2 count. This was insane. I was like sitting on the edge of my couch. Then Bray Wyatt practically fucking decapitated Dolph Ziggler on the floor outside with a nasty clothesline. And then, of course, Bray won with Sister Abigail. Now, after the match, Bray did something which I haven't seen since Vader versus, I want to say, Shawn Michaels. Bray Wyatt, in maybe like 96, Bray Wyatt pulled up the mat like he was going to like slam Dolph Ziggler on the exposed concrete. How awesome, how excited were you at the possibility of that, and how disappointed were you that we didn't actually get to see it?
I was waiting for something dynamic. I was waiting for like just a giant Sister Abigail onto the concrete, or maybe just like a regular body slam, something simple. But fucking referees. Ruining the fun.
Dude, you got no idea. All those referees, damn you, ruining our fun. Speaking of fun, we get another announcement. It's Black History Month, apparently, and WWE is recognizing one of my favorites as a child, the JYD, doing the thump. How excited are you?
Junkyard Dog.
And this is
Oh
awesome.
man, as a kid, I used to watch him, and there was one bit that I used to love to watch him do. He'll, on all fours, go over to the rope and bite the rope and just growl at the crowd. It was awesome. And then afterwards, after he won, pull the kids into the ring and they all start dancing. It was awesome.
Yeah, man. Gotta. What was this theme song? Gotta grab them cakes or something?
I don't even remember, dude.
Dude, it wasn't that good. It wasn't that good. It was like during that period where everybody sang their own entrance. It was pretty bad. Now, I want to shift gears and talk about the advocate for the Beast Incarnate, Paul Heyman. Now, Paul Heyman comes out with the champion, Brock Lesnar, and proceeds to cut a scathing promo. So before we get into the actual promo, since Brock actually didn't do anything in this show other than stand and look menacing, was this a waste of Brock Lesnar?
Yes, it was. And dude, I'm all out of Tic Tacs.
Dude,
I'm sad.
that's terrible. You got a problem. We need intervention. So the former voice of the voiceless begins and says that he's basically here to disseminate some information on behalf of the Beast, who imposes his presence on us. He says it's readily apparent to my client that society no longer places value on credible information. And then he begins to kind of tie this into a current event, which is the Brian Williams saga. So if you're familiar with Brian Williams, he's basically an NBC News anchor, or was, and he told a story, or was recanting, or not recanting, but rehashing a story he had told a few years ago about how he was somewhere in the Middle East with American troops in a series of helicopters. And he said that his helicopter was hit by an RPG. Papa, you play first-person shooters. What does RPG stand for?
Dude, I just went blank, dude.
It's okay. It happens. It happens. It's age. So basically, an RP. Listen, man, I'm not that far behind. An RPG is a rocket-propelled grenade. So what he said was he was in a helicopter that it got hit by an RPG, and apparently a bunch of people came out and said, Brian Williams, you're full of shit. And I could say that from my own couch, because if you're in a helicopter, which they aren't that big unless you're transport, like one of the big helicopter transports, there's no eject in a helicopter. If you crash in a helicopter, you're pretty much fucked. They do make a few different models that are built to withstand crashes, but for the most part, if you crash in a helicopter, you have screwed pooch. On top of that, if your helicopter's hit by a fucking grenade, you're probably a dead man. So they shit-canned Brian Williams, and Paul Heyman ties this into his promo. Basically, Brian Williams can't tell the truth, and he's kind of, but he's not the number one liar in the land. The number one liar in the land is being held by two people, Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns. And he mentions, of course, their match at Fastlane and proceeds to hype that. And then he says this. He says, if either Daniel Bryan or Roman Reigns comes out here and say they actually have a chance against Brock Lesnar, then, ladies and gentlemen, they're lying. They're lying to their families. They're lying to each other. They're lying to each and every one of you. And quite honestly, they're simply lying to themselves. And then he mentions Roman Reigns, and he says, Roman Reigns, the baddest dude from the most feared tribe from the most violent island in Samoa. And he says, and yet I stood 2 feet away when Roman Reigns looked eye to eye with Brock, and Roman, that yellow stream running down your leg was not pineapple juice.
Yeah.
I loved that. What were your thoughts on him just calling out Roman for rightfully so, being fearful of the Beast Incarnate?
This is going down as one of the best trash talking of all time. Paul Heyman was definitely on point with this promo. Definitely on point.
Dude, he was on point, and he wasn't even finished because he had to get in Daniel Bryan. He talks about Daniel Bryan. He says, the tragic tale of the overachieving underdog. He has lied to himself into believing that he has a chance against Brock Lesnar. Look at Daniel Bryan and look at Brock Lesnar. Do you really think Bryan has a chance? I'm not just talking about the size difference, the striking, the submission, wrestling, the grappling, all of that. Do you really believe that Daniel Bryan is the one to beat the one in 21-1? And ultimately, it doesn't matter. Whoever wins at Fastlane is unlucky. It doesn't matter who wins at Fastlane because they have the unpleasant situation of having to face Brock Lesnar and blah, 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 blah. I have a quick question. I'm pretty set in believing that Roman Reigns is going to beat Daniel Bryan at Fastlane. But it seems that Paul Heyman spent more time talking about Daniel Bryan than Roman Reigns. Was this him just trying to hype up the match? Or was this because that he knows that Daniel Bryan isn't going to win, but he's hyping up the possibility of it anyway? Or do you think this is it just happened and he had more to talk about?
I believe it just happened to be more to talk about because, right now Roman Reigns is the one that won the Royal Rumble, but then Daniel Bryan is the one that's working his way, trying to connive his way into the main event of WrestleMania. I got a really bad feeling that they're going to call a triple threat match at WrestleMania, which I do not want to see.
You talk about it. It's all over the dirt sheets. They're talking about making it a triple threat. I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to spend too much time on it because we still have a lot to talk about. We'll table that for another discussion next week once we get right up to Fastlane and we do our Fastlane preview and reviews. That being said, we got the Dust Brothers versus New Day, Kofi and Big E, accompanied by Xavier Woods. After tagging in Goldust, Stardust basically abandons his brother for Kofi to win with a roll-up. Got anything to say about this match?
No.
Good. We're going to keep this ball rolling. We got Renee Young. Beautiful, beautiful Canadian. Renee, please don't ever cut your hair again. She interviews Daniel Bryan backstage about his tag match with Roman Reigns. Roman comes in and suggests that they will work together to beat the Authority so they can take each other one-on-one with no obstacles at Fastlane. Now, immediately after that, we get to see Goldust confronting Stardust backstage. Goldust says, "Hey, it's getting out of hand, bro." And this is not Goldust talking. This is Dustin. "You're my brother, Cody." Stardust freaks the fuck out and shoves his brother into a pile of light tubes and says, "I told you never to call me that name again. Cody is dead. Stardust lives." So I do want to take I forgot about the hiss. Good call, man. So I wanted to spend a few moments talking about this. You and I, it's been chronicled. We've talked about the idea of those two, Dustin versus Cody, as Dustin and as Cody at WrestleMania, brother versus brother. This would be the third brother versus brother match at WrestleMania, I believe, with Dusty being the special referee, having to choose between his two sons. It's a story that you don't have to even really write. It's already there. It's just there and waiting.
Question.
Do it.
Does Dusty Rhodes come out with face paint too?
Dude, Dusty Dust? I'm so in. You do Dusty Dust, and then you have Damien. You get Damien Sandust, and he's in a dust outfit. He'll get the dust paint. But I mean, is this leading to Dustin Rhodes versus Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania, as opposed to Goldust versus Stardust?
Or Dustin Rhodes versus Stardust?
I don't want to see Dustin Rhodes versus Stardust. I want to see Rhodes versus Rhodes, like them as themselves. Like, I like the Stardust character, but I really think it's run its course, and I think it's time to bring Cody back. But I really like what they're doing here. Now, Papo, we still have a lot of stuff to get to. I do want to talk about the Triple H confrontation with Sting. Do you mind if we just keep this ball rolling?
Here's the ball. Run with it.
Boom. I'm going to put the ball with my other balls. Anyway, I'm talking about my testicles. All three of them. So Triple H says he gets in the ring. He says for 20 years he has ate, slept, and breathed WWE wrestling. While others have come and gone, he has stayed here. He says that his blood, sweat, and tears and passion has all made to make this place a better place. And he said his life work was basically taken away because of one man. The man they call Sting. The face of WCW. The company I helped destroy, and now 14 years later, That pussy finally gathers up the guts to do something about it. And this kind of goes on. He says now it's Survivor Series. He finally decides to take a shot. Does he do it like a man? No. He does it like a coward bitch. Sting, I'm a man, and I'm calling you out of Fastlane to stand face to face with me. I will explain to you why you were right to stay away for 14 years, and if you agree to never show your face here again, I will let you leave Fastlane with your dignity intact. I have called out Sting like a man for 2 straight weeks with no answer, and my patience has run out. So Sting, I want an answer, and I want it now. Without getting into what happened afterwards, this little promo by Triple H, it's kind of a nice setup to the kind of feud we're leading into between him and Sting, yeah?
Definitely.
So they do this bit where he's calling Sting out, and it's basically, am I wrong, or is this like a challenge to meet for a challenge? Because we're not getting a match between them in Fastlane, it's just a confrontation. So he's challenging him to show up.
He's challenged him to face off.
Oh shit. No more drugs for that man. Face Off reference. I love that movie. Give it up, John Woo. That being said, dubs flying, gun battles, all that good shit. Speaking of good shit, the lights go out. Immediately after Triple H is done talking, we get some crow. Crow noises. And then the spotlight shows Sting at different places around the arena. Papo, did you ever see a movie called The Three Amigos?
Yes, I've seen The Three Amigos. Hey!
We ride, we fight, we love. They did the Three Amigos finish, where they have the whole town dressed up as Three Amigos and they're running from building to building. They did the Three Amigos here on Raw. So basically, the spotlight would show at different points of the I forget what they're called, but basically the walkways of the arena. So the spotlight shows here, there's a Sting. Spotlight shows here, there's another Sting. They're doing what they did in Amigos, Amigos, Amigos. Anyway, that being said, we get some Sting chants, and it's getting real. It's getting really real. And then we get a creepy video on the Tron showing Triple H talking about Sting, and they kind of superimpose Sting makeup on Triple H, and then the lights go out again. The lights come back on, and someone dressed up as Sting, who looked an awful lot like Randy Orton, appears in the ring behind Triple H. Triple H turns around and falls to the mat. The light goes out. Sting disappears again. Then on the Tron, in big letters, it says, I accept. I know a lot of people didn't enjoy this segment. Before I give my thoughts, Papa, what did you think about this whole segment, and does it effectively build up their confrontation for Fastlane?
Last thing I heard was a lot of people didn't enjoy the segment, and then you lagged out on me.
Okay, so a lot of people didn't enjoy it, but I want to know, one, did you enjoy it? And number two, does this successfully build up anticipation for their confrontation at Fastlane?
Number one, yes. Number two, yes. I mean, it was the perfect Sting setup without him actually having to be there. It was Randy Orton in the face paint. Classic.
Dude, that sure as shit looked like Randy Orton.
It was Randy Orton. We know this.
It was, and not from like his face, but just from his build, like his body type. It looked just like Randy Orton. Yeah, man, I loved every second of it. I mean, call it cheesy, call it corny, whatever, but that kind of plays into the theatrical Sting mythos. So I want to kind of table that for when we talk about Fastlane. But I do want to talk about something that Michael Cole said moments later. After the segment, he says, reports that according to WWE doctors, John Cena is suffering from a scratched cornea, and there's been more eye damage than originally thought, and John Cena has vowed that he will face Rusev in 2 weeks at Fastlane. So I got a quick question for you, Papo. I think it was either WrestleMania 6 or 7, okay? Jake Roberts, leading up to WrestleMania, gets sprayed in the face by Rick Martel's perfume. Arrogance. Okay? And they do a blindfold match. Can we please get a blindfold match at Fastlane between Rusev and Cena?
Yeah. I would actually prefer maybe a one eye patch match.
Dude, stop it. Did you ever see that blindfold match?
I did see the blindfold match, but it's been a while, so it's like very like vague in my mind right now.
I made my.
And don't make a comment about old age, Dick.
I was going to too. I made my wife sit through that match, and she looked at me and she was like, "This is the corniest shit I've ever seen." And I was like, "No, this is like the greatest ever," because they're both in hoods and they can't see each other, and they do this bit where Jake is like pointing, and he's pointing, and the crowd's like, "No, no, no," and then like he finally points to Martel, and they're like, "Yes!" Ah! It was awesome. It was like one of my favorite WrestleMania matches of all time. So speaking of WrestleMania caliber matches, we got the Usos with Naomi versus Tyson Kidd and Cesaro with Natalya. Obviously, I'm being sarcastic. We got this match. We got a tag match, and we get to see we get to see the aftermath. We get to see the footage of their double date. And apparently Cesaro punched Jimmy in the face because Tyson Kidd brings his tag team partner with him when he goes on dates with his wife. So 2 questions. Number 1, how cool was that segment? When I say cool, I'm being half facetious. What did you think about that double date video?
That shit, I mean, it had potential to be hilarious, but gay.
So
one more thing.
Yeah.
Cesaro, who'd he punch? What's his name?
Jimmy.
Okay. Cesaro punched Jimmy in the face, and it looked so fake.
It was like a slow motion punch.
It was stupid.
Oh, man. So, one of the things that gets mentioned by Michael Cole, without actually getting into the match, because I don't think the match is really worth talking about, and that's not putting down either the Usos or Tyson Kidd and Cesaro. It's just that I kind of tuned out. Michael Cole says something really fucking stupid. He says, rumor has it, a win by Cesaro and Kidd would put them in the running for perhaps a tag team title opportunity. Now, that was fucking-batum. That's an exact quote of what he said. Papo, isn't that how fucking number 1 contenderships work? You beat the champion in a non-title match, you automatically become number 1 contender. Does Michael Cole think we're fucking stupid?
Yes. Michael Cole deserves to be punched in the neck.
He deserves to be with Brian Williams in that helicopter. Ultimately, the match ends. Cesaro shoves one of the Usos off the top rope. Tyson covers for the win. New number 1 contenders. Speaking of new things, we got another inductee into the 2015 Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, Papo, Rikishi Fatu. So 2 questions. Number 1, we'll start with the first one. Does Rikishi deserve to be in the Hall of Fame?
Yes, he does.
Okay. Number 2, do you think they're going to acknowledge him in his other roles as part of, I think was he the Head Shrink? He was part of the Head Shrinkers or the Islanders? I can't remember. One of those tag teams, and his role as the Sultan. But do you think they're going to focus on just his character Rikishi or his lengthy career? Because when they inducted Scott Hall last year, they didn't induct Scott Hall. They just inducted Razor Ramon. What do you think they're going to do here?
Well, Rikishi's a title. It's not his name. Fatu is his name. So they may just go ahead and focus on Rikishi, but he put into the Hall of Fame, they have to go ahead and acknowledge his accomplishments.
So let's talk about that, right? Because everybody makes the common joke that, well, if Coco Beware's in the Hall of Fame, blah, 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 blah. I don't make that joke. Because Coco Beware back in the day was actually a big fucking deal before he became the guy with the parrot. My joke is, did you know that fucking Abdullah the Butcher is in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
Come the fuck on, man.
And he still wrestles to this day.
Still giving people hepatitis. I don't know, man. I mean, I don't bag on the Coco Beware thing because he was a star in Memphis back in the day. It's just that people that watch old WWE didn't get to see that version of Coco Beware. And I would like to see that version of Coco Beware, but WWE hasn't put Mid-South on their fucking network yet. Vince, put fucking Mid-South on your goddamn network. I want to see it. USWA, motherfuckers. Now, that being said,
Yeah, motherfuckers.
yeah, motherfuckers, we got to talk about, I'm going to say, aside from a few segments from now, this is my favorite segment on the show up until this point. Sin Cara versus Damien Mizdow and The Miz. Now, basically, they've been doing this story where Damien Mizdow has been demoted from stunt double to personal assistant, right? Can you hear me?
You lagged out on me.
Oh, so
I got you.
they've been doing the story that Mizdow's been demoted from stunt double to personal assistant. Yeah.
He's a secretary.
But so they do this transition or demotion. But so I'm thinking, oh, well, Miz lost to Sin Cara last week, so Mizdow's going to beat Sin Cara, right? No, that's not what we get. Instead, we get something far better. Mizdow sets up Miz, and Miz has like a director's chair. And he says, Mizdow starts doing the thing where he does the Miz, and he takes off his sunglasses and whatever. But Miz gets on the microphone and says, stop. Number one, Mizdow, you're doing it wrong. Number two, you're no longer my stunt double. Put your hands down, sunglasses off, and start the match. Let's go, buddy. And then the crowd erupts into Mizdow chants. And then Miz says, Mizdow, since you're out there, could you get me a water? So Mizdow begrudgingly gets him a bottle of water. And then Miz is like, hey, open this bottle, man. I don't got the finger strength. So he opens the bottle of water, and then Sin Cara dives onto Mizdow, and then Miz gets on the microphone and he says, pay attention to your opponent. Mizdow goes for the figure four. Miz back on the microphone, and I believe at this point he jumps up on the apron and he says, whoa, 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 whoa. That is my figure four leg lock, the move that I made famous. Put his legs down. Get your own move. And, of course, Mizdow's distracted enough for Sin Cara to win with a small package. So, first question. How entertaining is the dynamic between Miz and Mizdow right now?
This is awesome. This is building up to be a disgusting grudge. And right now, it seems is that Mizdow seems to be obligated to be the Miz's secretary, but then yet Mizdow still believing that Miz is still a face and still wants to go ahead and mimic his moves is actually still pissing the Miz off. I am really, really getting into this grudge right now.
They're keeping it fresh, right? I mean, they took something that was getting stale and they could only do for so long, and now they're finally, keeping it fresh, right? I mean, this is a way to continue the feud without doing the same shit over and over, right?
Right.
So what do you think about that awesome heel move that Miz did where he claims that he made the figure four famous, that it's his move? How awesome was that? No pun intended.
That could actually lead into different aspects that Ric Flair made the figure four famous. So, I mean, with that being said, that can go into a grudge with Ric Flair or a grudge to somebody else who used the figure four.
Greg Valentine.
Oh, exactly. So there's like so many aspects to that. So it's actually pretty cool.
So, speaking of things that are pretty cool, in the interest of time, I do want to keep moving. We get another Bray Wyatt promo. And again, I think it's clear that he's cryptically calling out The Undertaker. Is this safe to say?
Bong!
I'm going to take that as a yes. Then we get my favorite part of the night. Hashtag AxleMania. We come back from a commercial to see Curtis Axel standing in the ring, and he's pointing at the WrestleMania sign. And I said it last week. I said, I hope he comes out every week and points to the WrestleMania sign. Dude, I want this to be his gimmick for the rest of his life. That he could just say, like, how Miz gets heat by reminding everyone that he did headline WrestleMania 27. He did beat John Cena and retain the title. I want to see Curtis Axel just make this the 2015 Rumble his gimmick. For years and years and years, he's like, I'm the uncrowned winner of the 2015 Royal Rumble. So he says, this is my spotlight. No one is going to steal this from me, not even Kanye West. I don't pay attention to current events. Yes, honey, I drank all your vodka. I don't pay attention to. She's like lifting up the vodka bottle, like, where's all the vodka? Oh my God. I know. So, was there a recent thing with Kanye West? Because I don't pay attention to things that aren't pro wrestling in the real world. Was there like a Kanye West thing this year?
Something on the Grammys. I don't know. He's a dickhead. Hey,
I don't mean to interrupt you, but Beyonce had the greatest video of all time. Now, Curtis Axel continues. He says, I never lost the Royal Rumble match, and if you want to keep doing your thing and keep this movement alive, and hashtag Axelmania. I'm going to tell you, the minute this video goes up in our YouTube feed, I'm going to put it on my Twitter with hashtag Axelmania. I want to get this thing going. I fucking love it. And then Dean Ambrose comes out, and he faces Kurt Axel. Dean Ambrose wins with a double-arm DDT. I don't really have to ask you about the Ambrose match, but how fun is it to see Curtis Axel trying to get that hashtag Axelmania trending?
That's actually hilarious.
So, speaking of hilarious, let's transition into what happened after the match. Ambrose basically calls out the Intercontinental Champion, Bad News Barrett, and this is what he says. He says, hey, Bad News Barrett, I've got some breaking news for you. You can deny me all you want, but this mug is going up on the Wall of Champions at WWE headquarters, and there's an Intercontinental Championship match that belongs to me, and I will not stop until I get it. Bad News Barrett appears on the Tron, and he responds and he says, Dean, I've got some breaking news for you, courtesy of BNZ, which is the Bad News Zone, nice little spin-off of TMZ. Once again, things are not looking good for Dean Ambrose. Just because you declare you won an opportunity doesn't mean you'll get one. And more. For more breaking news, please stay tuned to BNZ. So 2 questions. Number 1, do we really want to see Dean Ambrose win the Intercontinental title? We'll start with that.
He deserves that belt. I mean, he's gone through so many grudges, but then lost a lot of them. So for him to hold some gold again would definitely benefit him. But I got a really, really bad feeling that he's not going to be able to win that. He's been on a losing streak as of late, and beating Curtis Axel is not really saying much.
Hey, man, Curtis Axel's the uncrowned winner of the 2015 Royal Rumble. Hashtag Axelmania.
Hashtag bullshit.
So, I personally, I'm torn, right? Because on the one hand, I do want to see Dean Ambrose win the Intercontinental Championship. Because for those of us who are, diehard wrestling fans, the Intercontinental Championship up until a couple of years ago was pretty prestigious. I mean, this was the belt that was held by Savage, Steamboat, Hennig, so on and so forth. All the great workers, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon, etc., etc., etc. Was Shelton Benjamin an IC champion? I'm tempted to think he was.
I think he was IC champion. Yes, he was.
Jericho, he's the record holder. I think he's like up to nine Intercontinental Championship reigns. So let's talk about that, right? So on the one hand, I do want to see Ambrose win the IC title. I think that on paper that would help him. But here's the problem. Dean Ambrose was U.S. champion for like a fucking year, and he never defended that title. And it didn't mean shit, right? And on top of that, I think he lost it in a battle royal, if I'm not mistaken. But on top of that, you have the Intercontinental Champion, which for the past year, at least, maybe even for the past 2 years, it's like whoever holds the Intercontinental Championship constantly loses non-title match. Fucking dude, Sin Cara beats the Intercontinental Champion. And I'm not passing judgment on Hunico. I think he's really great. I wish he would come back to the Spanish rap on the fucking bicycle and shit. But it's obvious the Intercontinental Champion is always losing matches, right? So on the one hand, I do want to see Ambrose win that title to kind of help elevate his status. On the other hand, I don't want to see it because that means he's going to lose even more than he loses right now. Stuff. Corner of my mouth. Alcohol. That's the thing. Do you have any thoughts as far as the Intercontinental Champion, unfortunately, being a loser on a week-to-week basis on television?
No comment at this time.
Fair enough. So speaking of comments, let's comment on the main event. And ladies and gentlemen, if you keep liking, subscribing, and commenting, I'm going to get much better at my segues. Much better. So we got Brains, Jesus, alcohol. Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns. Not the scooter, bitches. Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins, Kane, Big Show, and Jamie Noble and Joey Mercury. So immediately, Bryan and Reigns are attacked at the start of the match. Reigns is knocked down and is basically everyone versus Daniel Bryan for most of the match. Big Show and Kane at one point actually clear off the commentary table as if they're going to... You know what? I have a quick question. Papa, it's called the announcer table, yeah?
Yes.
And they're referred to as announcers, yes?
Yes.
But they're not. Lillian Garcia is an announcer. Justin Roberts used to be an announcer. Howard Finkel is an announcer. So why do the commentators sit at the announce table?
What are you parking in a driveway?
Dude.
And then drive
on a parkway. Motherfucker. So basically, they Big Show and Kane, they clear off the top of the table
I'm sorry, you lagged on me?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Good. Excuse me.
I heard that.
Boom. So Big Show and Kane, they clear off the top of the and I refuse to call it announce table. I'm going to call it commentary table. I'm bringing it back. Trying to fix the lexicon of professional wrestling. Trying to use my verbiage for good deeds. So they clear off the top of the commentary table like they're going to put somebody through it. And of course, Ryback music hits. Beat me, pork. And Ryback, Ziggler, and Rowan, I know it's not Feed Me Pork. I'm joking. I'm kind of half drunk. Just go with it. Ryback, Ziggler, and Rowan, they come down to even the odds, and they fight Kane, Big Show, and Rollins on the ramp and stage area. The match ultimately continues with J&J versus Bryan and Bryan Reigns. Daniel Bryan hits J&J with a flying double drop kick from the top rope, and Bryan prepares for the flying knee, and then Roman Reigns tags himself in and spears Mercury for the win. So without getting into the actual events after the match, there is a question I do have. Papo, you with me? You playing Candy Crush over there? What's going on?
You're lagging on me. I was just following through with on the outline.
Okay. So here's my question. Without getting into the aftermath of the match, Ryback, Ziggler, and Rowan, they come out to the ring. They're attacking participants in the match. Shouldn't it have been disqualified right then and there due to outside interference?
Technically, no.
What?
Because it had to be whoever was in the ring at the time. If, say, Jamie was in the ring, and then one of the three hit Jamie because he is the tagged-in opponent,
right. He's the legal man.
Then he's the legal man. He would have. Then they would have won. They would have been disqualified. But since they're on the outside, that's open game right there.
So at Fastlane, do you think we're going to see Ryback, Ziggler, and Rowan versus Kane, Big Show, and Seth Rollins?
Sounds promising.
So speaking of promising, let's talk about what happened after the match. Again, like, comment, subscribe. I'll get better at them damn segues. So, of course, Bryan does all the heavy lifting. Reigns comes in, takes credit for the win. And after the match, Bryan gets kind of pissed off, and he says, you were on the floor the entire match. I did all the work. Bryan kind of gets mad, and he shoves Roman Reigns, and then Roman kind of like bounces off the ropes and immediately spears Daniel Bryan. And that's basically how the show goes off the air. So was this an effective use of both talents to build to their match as the main event of Fastlane?
It's starting to build a grudge, if you will.
Oh, I will, if you will.
So, I mean, right now, it's not just a number one contenders match for the main event at WrestleMania. It is now turned into a grudge match.
Boom. They're fighting over the services of J&J Security. So, Papo, that's pretty much the end of Raw. We don't have a whole lot to talk about. I know you and I are in the works of getting together to do a review of the Stone Cold and Triple H podcast, which, ladies and gentlemen, that will appear in the next couple weeks on this channel. So if you stay tuned, and if you did subscribe, like we mentioned, you'll get an email saying, hey, motherfuckers, this shit's on. Again, like, comment, subscribe. Join the conversation. Send us your questions to the email again. I'm kind of drunk and I'm not going to read the email address. Go ahead and check that out in the description box below. Papo, is there anything you wanted to discuss before we close out for the night?
Thank you for watching. Stay tuned. We'll get that special show out to you ASAP. And from Papo, peace.
Good night, bitches. This is Ted and Papo signing out. Peace.